Welcome to the YouTube channel of Life and More. Today we have with us author Manjul Bajaj. She has recently come out with a new novel, Once Upon a Summer. Manjul is a graduate in economics and a postgraduate in rural management and environmental science. And for much of her life, she's worked in the field of rural development. But then somewhere along the line, she also turned into an author. Welcome, Manjul.
So nice to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. So we'll begin with you a bit. Tell us, how did you turn into an author, and when did you turn into an author?
I've always been writing since a very young age, like from the age of 5 or 6, and I was
Okay.
always those irritating children who the teacher was saying, read her poem or read her limerick and all. But I never thought of it as a profession because um,
Mhm.
I was keener to see the world and to earn money and all of those things. So I
Mm,
actually came to writing quite late. Um,
mm.
about 15 years ago is when I published my first novel, Come Before Evening Falls. And that was
Okay.
from a place of satisfaction that I've done the work I wanted to do as a younger person. And now I want to reflect on the things I've seen, to tell the stories of the people I've met during
Mm,
my development career, to
mm,
reflect on where we are going in terms of the environment. So all of those
mm,
threads do find a way into my books. And
mm. Okay. You said that you were interested in writing since you were a very small child. So,
yeah.
who inspired you? Like, who do you attribute your interest or your skills to?
We're a family of closet writers. So,
Okay.
all my brothers, my cousins, my aunt is a poet, but none of
Okay.
us published in the way that I was sort of determined to get ahead
Okay.
with this business of writing and to actually be a published author. We looked up to authors, we read a lot, we wrote as a side hobby. I'm the first person in
Hmm.
my family who's said, okay, I want to be out there with my writing, but the
Okay.
inspiration was all around. Both my
Hmm.
parents
Okay.
were deeply into literature. So.
Hmm. Okay. And how was your experience with your first book? Like, you wrote a book, and
Mhm.
the exercise of finding a publisher and getting it published. How was that experience?
In retrospect, it seems easy. It seems very easy.
Hmm.
But at that time, there is a lot of insecurity. There's a lot of you don't know whether you're going to actually
Hmm.
find a publisher. But I submitted to two places, and within about
Hmm.
5 or 6 months, I had got a deal from Hachette, both from my novel and for my short stories, which I had written before the novel
Hmm.
but were published after the
Yeah.
novel. So at that time, those 6 months, which I must have waited to hear from the publisher, it seemed
Hmm.
like a struggle. But when I look back now and see how difficult it is for people, it seems
Hmm.
like a cakewalk. It was very easy. I submitted it, it was liked, it was published, it got a lot of launches and a lot of attention. And so,
Okay. 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 Now we come to your new book, Once Upon a
mhm,
Summer.
yeah.
So how did the idea of this book germinate? Like, it's based on a little fact, and then you've expanded the story.
Yes, that's how it is.
Mm.
I wasn't
Mm.
actually, this is the book, if I may hold it up for
Yeah,
people.
yeah, sure.
And this is actually, it came about accidentally, really. I wasn't
Hmm.
looking to write about this particular story, but when I was a child, we
Mm.
used to go every year to Nainital for our holidays as a family. My uncle and his family, my father and our family. And we would, those was that Purane Zamane ka tarika. You went for an extended stay. You didn't go for three
Mm-hmm.
days like people go for holidays now. So there was a
Mm-hmm.
certain romance and a charm to being in Nainital, which had stayed with me. And
Mm-hmm.
I was part of this group called Nainital Nostalgia.
Okay.
And I saw this post about these two people, Madeline and Azim, and how
Okay.
this girl from England who was supposed to be going to Oxford and who was quite improbably a speaker of six languages and a linguist, suddenly abandons all her plans and is in love with the man who's teaching, the boy who's teaching her horse riding. And then they
Mm-hmm.
have a love story which travels across the world. So, though
Mm-hmm.
it was just like a two-paragraph snippet, which Tariq Qureshi had posted on the group, I said, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this will make a wonderful novel. And I was genuinely intrigued. I was very intrigued by
Mm-hmm.
the characters. My thought was, what did she see in this boy? What must he have had for her to want to love him? And what must she have to, circumvent all the barriers of race and class and the time
Mm-hmm.
they were in to
Mm-hmm.
make this sort of very touching and very inspiring love story. So then I looked for connections and I got the permission to make it into a novel because I didn't want to borrow anybody's post without
Mm-hmm.
their being aware of
Mm-hmm.
the fact that it had inspired this. And
Mm-hmm.
he was very kind. He said, "This is from the, journals of the Nawab of Jaunpur. It's not my personal story. So if I'm telling it, you can tell it as well." And that's when
Okay.
this book began. This was during the lockdown. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought it's a small love story and it'll be written very quickly. But as it happens, you keep on adding layers. So there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
research of exploring all the places where the story is based. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this girl's father was a PWD engineer in Jaunpur, so part
Mm-hmm.
of the story is in Jaunpur. Then for the
Mm-hmm.
boy, I thought if he's working as a horseman in Nainital, where could he be from? So I found a neighboring state, of
Okay.
Rampur, which I've depicted as Ranpur in the novel. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are other bits of the story. He's a trained horse rider, so there's Saharanpur. And then there's their
Mm-hmm.
whole love story of their escape. And then, it has many elements. It
Mm-hmm.
has many
How,
geographic elements.
huh. How challenging was it? And how much time did you take to complete the book?
It's very difficult to say because I must have
Hmm.
started in 2020 and it's
Hmm.
been published in 2025. So, but I
Hmm.
wasn't writing for all of those 5 years. Sometimes you set it
Hmm.
aside, you send it to people to read to find, you know,
Hmm.
what better can be done. I always have what I call, people who know a little
Hmm.
more than me to advise me on how it's turning out. And
Okay.
in the meantime, I've also written other books. I published the book of Bulla last year, and
Hmm.
that's a translation of Bulle Shah's poetry. And
Hmm.
just at the end of this month, I'm publishing the Songs of Mira, which is a translation of Mirabai's poetry. So
Okay.
I would say these three books have taken 5 years
They were
together.
written simultaneously. You were working
They
on.
were written in patches. Like I worked very hard
Hmm.
on Once Upon a Summer, then I was,
Hmm.
a little discouraged that it's too complicated. So I kept it aside for
Okay.
a few months and I was working on the Bulla
Hmm.
book. And then I
Hmm.
did another revision. I write only to live up to my own standards, and even then sometimes I mess up. So I
Okay.
keep working on a book till I feel it's ready to go out. And this took that, uh, you
That
know,
much time.
that
mm,
much time, because it also goes to the agent who's looking for publishers, then it stays with
mm.
publishers till they get back. So there's that 1.5 years of nothing really happening, except that,
Okay.
it's going through the system and it's going into print,
Yeah.
and it's, getting cover
Right.
designs and editing.
Mm,
So
mm.
so I'd
In
say
the
it's
in the
about
story, huh,
I'd say it's
5
about
years. Oh,
3 years of effort and five
yeah,
years of
3 years
coming
of
to
writing.
fruition.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your story, like you were moving back and forth between two generations.
Yes.
So how challenging is that?
Mm-hmm.
Such a is it easy to write such a thing, such a style in such a style, or a linear way isn't linear way more easier?
Well, for each
Hmm,
book, you set yourself different goals. And for this one, I
hmm,
did want to uh,
hmm,
work with multiple timelines and
hmm,
multiple locations. That was what I was looking to do. I've done linear books which have worked very well, but as an author, you need to set higher goals for yourself, do more complex things. So this
hmm,
book was
hmm,
that. And also, if you look at the second story, the parallel
hmm,
story that runs through after the post-war period in New York, um,
hmm,
it is also a story about books and language and publishing, which was a very
hmm,
meaningful subject for me. Of the generation in New York and Los
hmm,
Angeles was to me very fascinating also, because
hmm,
it's really the story of publishing books in the last 100 years, how it has changed the world. So it follows the
hmm,
story of a publishing house, a boutique publishing house, and how it expands,
hmm,
and then how it moves on. So
hmm,
both the stories were very interesting to me. And for me, there were two linear stories I was developing, and then I was interspersing them for the reader. From the initial reactions that I've got from the first few reviews, people seem to
hmm.
have liked that. It's worked for them. So,
So it was your conscious decision to do that,
yes, I mean,
to
no
write.
novel can be written without a conscious
Hmm.
structure, as far as
No,
I'm
sometimes a
concerned.
story happens, like while you're writing, things happen, like organically,
Yeah,
things
that
come to you.
also
But
happens,
there's
but this
hmm,
structure is, I mean, for me, I
decided
think
upon.
of writing a novel as building a house. That you have to
Hmm,
plan the structure of it. You have to know
hmm,
where the windows are, where the doors are, where what the floor
hmm,
is, what the roof is.
hmm,
This
hmm,
organic, yes, within the novel, organic things happen, how characters relate to each other, or how a particular incident may work out. But I think
hmm.
the entire book, if it has a structure, is a more beautiful book for it. So it's a
Hmm.
planned structure. This is what I wanted to
Yeah,
do. So,
take it. And the book also explores the theme of British Raj, you're talking about that,
yes.
and social hierarchies.
Mhm.
So, how much of research went into that? And what kind of research did you do for that?
Well, a fair amount of research went into the geographies, right, of the where
Okay.
the book is moves from one place to another. So I wanted to get that authentically, and I've not been to
Hmm,
all the places that are featured in the book. So that was a lot
hmm,
of research. Then a part
hmm,
of the book that is set in Middlesbrough, where the girl comes from and her mother is a teacher
hmm,
there, that needed a lot of research, because I don't know England in that century,
hmm,
and how life was there, how that city came about. So,
hmm,
yes, there was research there, but as far as the British Raj is concerned, we've grown up on British Raj literature. It's a very
hmm,
familiar and sort of favorite genre for many readers of
hmm,
my generation, at least. So,
hmm,
and we
hmm,
studied in convent schools, and a
hmm,
character like Mariam Das, the
hmm,
nanny, is a
hmm,
character I would have known growing up. It's not
Hmm. Hmm.
it so that would not take that much research. And I did reimagine the relationship between the master and the servant races, because when you read
Hmm.
all your favorite British Raj books, they're written by Britishers, and they have the
Hmm.
sense that the Indian character is somehow exotic, but not quite as intellectually, say, advanced as them, or as complex. So I have recorrected and restored that balance to my eyes, that listen, we came from an equally old civilization. So Azim may have been a horse groom, but he also
Hmm.
belongs to a lineage, he also belongs to a literary culture, he also uh, and similarly for Mariam, you might think of her as just a maid, but she studied in schools which were using the same textbooks as your school. She was a product of the Catholic Irish nuns and the schools they set up. So don't think that your Indian characters have sort of the duty just to look exotic and add to your drama. They have their own interior lives, they have their own stories. So
So
that's where it
there's
was a
a
Raj novel, which I was correcting from my
hmm,
perspective.
there's a intellectual parity between the characters,
Yes,
Indian and the British
yes.
characters.
And
Okay.
I mean, there's a very important scene in the book where
Hmm.
Azim is thinking that you may know all the languages of the world, but that is
Hmm.
not greater than being. Being is
Hmm.
what you are. So don't,
Hmm.
and it's very common in India now also,
Hmm.
that you assume if you know English, you are somehow superior. You're not.
Yeah.
English is just one more
True.
Indian language now.
One.
So
Yeah. Another
this
language.
book really explores the themes
Hmm.
of language, the themes of literature.
Hmm.
There's a tribute to Umrao Jan Ada, which is like Urdu's first novel, but also North India's first novel. So there are
Hmm.
many little tributes to the places I come from, and
Okay.
you know, the whole Jesuit education system. It's,
Okay. So is there any particular chapter that you struggled writing with?
uh,
Something which was more tougher than the others?
I wouldn't say so, because I'm not in such a
Hmm.
hurry to produce my books. My
Okay.
strategy is that if it's not working, leave it aside for a bit, come back. So I live in my head with my characters. So,
Okay.
so I'm just understanding them. They're doing things. Things are happening. Um,
Hmm.
so I don't write under stress. So if there's a struggle, I move on to something else. I'm
Acha.
also at one point I have 5 or 6 projects going on. So
Hmm.
this is,
Hmm.
if you're stuck for 2 days, it's a minor thing. If you're stuck for 2 months,
Hmm.
it's still a minor thing, because
Hmm.
ultimately, when the book is living in your head, you can let it go out. So.
So has it ever happened that as an author, this is I'm moving away from
Mhm.
Once Upon a Summer,
Mhm.
that you are stuck in a particular story, you are stuck somewhere and you've left it altogether, not
No, I
gone
mean,
back
I
to it?
may have left something, but it'll come out, believe me, in the sense
Okay.
that I haven't closed the chapter in any book I'm
Okay.
writing, but I may leave them
Hmm.
for some time. And
Okay.
also, after a while,
Hmm.
it gets very difficult
Hmm.
to balance everything. So you say, okay,
Hmm.
this year or these 8 months belong to Once Upon a Summer. And then if
Hmm.
it gets as far as it does, and then you say, okay, now let's
Hmm.
finish the, Songs of Mira, which I've contracted to,
Hmm.
submit to my publisher. So you balance
Hmm.
your life as a writer,
Hmm.
but I
Okay.
wouldn't say that any project has completely uh,
Been left.
been left.
Okay. Okay. And is there a target audience that you had in mind when you were writing this book?
Yes, in a small sense, the people who love Nainital as much as I do, but nothing
Okay.
more than that. The target audience is
Hmm.
anyone who likes reading fiction
Hmm.
of a certain kind. Because
Hmm.
in my fiction, I don't see it as literary fiction or commercial fiction, or, I see it as telling a good story. How good is the story you can tell? How much
Hmm.
can you keep the reader feeling like this is real, this happened? And how much
Hmm.
of a surprise you can offer by the end, that, oh, this is how it comes together. So,
Okay. That's it.
that's
So, since the book has been out for quite some time now, so which is the best comment that you have received for the book?
Well, there have been a lot of very kind comments, and I can't pick
Mm,
out one really.
mm. No,
But it,
something
it
which
came out
really
on the
touched your heart.
27th of June. So,
So it's almost 20-25 days.
2020.
How much?
There have been a lot of
Which
very
particular comment
nice.
like touched your heart?
I'm sorry, I can't really recall one,
Okay,
but the general
okay,
feedback has been positive, and I've been, more than
okay.
anything else, you're relieved because when the first few readers tell you it's working,
Hmm.
that is when you say, okay, job done. Because before
Hmm.
that, however beautiful a book may be to you, you don't know if
Hmm.
you've got across. Like, to me, this book is
Hmm.
beautiful. I think it's got many, many layers and
Hmm.
lovely little things in it. But unless readers
Hmm.
come back and more than one, maybe three or four of the first few readers got back to say they're spellbound, or they're not being able to do their work for the day, or they didn't sleep in the
Hmm.
night trying to finish it. Those are the comments which touched me most, because more than anything else, I feel a story should be engrossing.
Hmm.
So
True.
if so those are the comments I'd say which have touched me most. The people who said they were
Hmm.
spellbound, they were engrossed, they left something else to complete the book.
Hmm.
So
ठीक, ठीक. So you've done translations. You This is a fiction writing, and you do short stories also.
yes.
Which one, which particular kind do you prefer, or is more close to you?
See, as a reader, the form I
Mm.
love most is the novella. You know,
Okay.
so I have this book called Another Man's Wife, where the title
Mm.
story, it's a collection of short stories, but the last is really a
Mm.
novella, Another Man's Wife, the
Mm.
title story. So for me, that is the format I would love to write more in and explore again. But
Mm.
readers, I think, like longer stories. They like novels. They
Mm.
like
No.
intergenerational things. And though I don't write very consciously for a market that, okay, readers
Mm.
like this, so I should write this.
Mm.
But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, for me, I think the novella, the long short story, I don't like 300-word short stories, but the short story which you stay for a long time with, that's my
Mm.
favorite format, and I'd like to do more. See, I grew up in the age where my mother used to read stories from Saptahik Hindustan and Dharamyuk and
Mm.
Kadambari, and we used to wait for the magazine to come, and we were reading the story with her. So
Yeah.
that is my idea of literature. My foundational idea of literature is Urdu
Mm.
poetry from my father and Hindi short fiction from my mother. And then the rest
Mm.
is you go to school, read novels, they begin to fascinate you. You read the novel,
Mm.
Enid
Mm.
Blyton, Nancy Drew, and then you
Mm.
move on to the classics. And so,
Mm.
yeah, so in terms of favorite formats, I like the novella, but
Mm.
as a writer, I do all because each is a different challenge.
Mm.
And you have to
Okay.
keep your
And
brain engaged.
and what about translations? How important
Try.
is a translation work?
Okay, the translations almost came about accidentally, I'd say.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I I belong to a Punjabi family from
Hmm.
West Pakistan, and they
Okay.
migrated and settled in Lucknow, which is where I was born. So I've grown
Hmm.
up as a Lucknowi. We did not speak Punjabi at home. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm not a fluent Punjabi speaker, so I'm a sort of Hindustani speaker. And
Hmm.
at some point, I got married, came to Delhi, picked up a
Hmm.
smattering of Punjabi from my in-laws' families, like that. And then there was this fascination with the story of Heer. So my
Hmm.
last novel is called In Search of Heer. And
Hmm.
I started really sort of researching, and not researching so much as immersing myself in Punjabi literature. So from
Hmm.
there, I came to Waris Shah and Bulle Shah. And
Hmm.
so while In Search of Heer, my novel is based on Waris Shah's, story of Heer. It
Hmm.
moved on to explore a lot of Sufi literature, a lot of poetry, and Bulle
Hmm.
Shah was to me like a revelation. So when I
Hmm.
started translating Bulle Shah, I did it for myself to understand
Okay.
because I don't understand Punjabi perfectly. So
Hmm.
translating it to English was my what I call my gift to myself. So once it was in English,
Okay.
I could go back to the Punjabi and appreciate the songs, the music much more. And
Okay.
doing that, I thought, why not make a book of it? There are so many like me who hear
Hmm.
Punjabi music, who hear Bulle Shah, but they
Hmm.
only respond to its emotional content. They don't know the exact meaning of what he's saying. So that's
Hmm.
how the Book of Bulla came along. And then after that, the publisher for that book suggested
Hmm.
more
Acha.
books from the
Translation book.
you know, from the Sufi
Hmm.
Bhakti literature. And
Hmm.
Mirabai, again, is someone we've grown up with. You know, wherever you
Hmm.
live, the bhajans of Mirabai are around you.
Hmm.
So I took that
Hmm.
on as my next project. And I also
Hmm.
happened to, because I worked in development,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
know a smattering of Gujarati, a smattering of, the
Okay.
Rajasthani dialects. So it's
Hmm.
easy to listen again and again
Hmm.
and be able to translate. I mean, so
Okay.
it's a challenge,
Uh,
but it's also something I like doing.
Hmm, hmm. So, translation work, like you said, that you didn't know Punjabi, but you wanted to understand, and but it's not so easy. Also, you need an expert who would be talking to you about it. No, how did you go about it with the translation work?
See,
I mean, how do you know that it's the actual essence which is coming out? Do you have an expert?
oh, no. See,
Hmm.
Bulisha has been translated by many people into English.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so all of those translations are available to me. I'm not doing,
Hmm,
uh, I'm not doing it in the absence of other people's commentaries, other people's work on Bulisha. So I'm doing it
okay.
in an atmosphere where there's already a wealth of knowledge available to us.
Hmm,
So you
hmm,
might ask, why did I do my own translation? I did my
hmm,
own translation because all of the existing translations didn't feed my
hmm.
soul. I felt
Okay.
that the people who were translating them knew excellent Punjabi, but their English, when it moved to English, it became
Hmm.
um, awkward, and it became, too
Maybe very
literal,
literal. Yeah.
and the poetry of
Mm,
it was lost. So,
mm,
like I said, in all humility, I did it for myself. So I'm not saying
mm,
this is the best translation. I'm just saying
mm,
this is how Bulle Shah speaks to me. This is what I understand he's saying. And I've taken,
mm,
as I have listened to the same songs, I have got people who know Punjabi to tell me the meaning of a certain word, which no one seems to be
mm,
able to interpret. So I'm never in
mm,
a hurry when I do these things.
mm,
So
mm. That's what
when
I
you
was coming
feel,
to. You have people to maybe impart you certain knowledge because you yourself said that you don't know much Punjabi. So you need to
I
have
don't speak
somebody.
Punjabi. There's a difference.
Huh,
See,
huh, huh.
I've grown up, my dadi spoke Punjabi, so I heard Punjabi.
Okay.
Then, when I got married,
So
my
you.
mother in law, my
Hmm,
husband's grandmother lived with us. So I have always heard Punjabi, but being, you
hmm,
know, a little underconfident, I have not spoken it
hmm.
till recently. Because it's
Okay.
not
Okay.
it's not that I don't know Punjabi, it's that I'm not
But it
fluent
doesn't
in
come
Punjabi
naturally
the
to
way
you.
someone who's grown up in the Punjab will be.
Yeah. It
Yes.
doesn't come
And
naturally to you speaking
yeah, it
Punjabi.
doesn't come naturally. The accent is wrong. I'm awkward
Hmm,
about it.
hmm,
But for a translator, you don't need to be an orator. For a translator,
hmm,
you need to have the intention to translate well. So you go over
hmm,
the same text, you find explanations, you do what it takes. But in the
hmm,
end, the poem you produce is the poem that speaks to you, that this is what Bullesha was saying. Because my thought was always, ye bol kya rahe hai after you read the English translation. You don't know what he
hmm.
said. You absolutely don't
Many
know.
translations are actually very bad. Sorry to
So,
say. But
so I look for something which I call
hmm,
the music of meaning. I look
hmm,
for the music of meaning in my translations, that this man,
hmm,
what was he saying to his God? This woman,
hmm,
what was she saying to Krishna? If I can convey that, I am not
hmm.
able to always get the, meter or the rhyme that is in Mira's poetry into my English translation. But I
Okay.
can tell you with, you know, certainty that you'll get what she was saying.
Okay. ठीक है. ठीक है. So, I'll ask you some small questions now. Who's
Okay?
your favorite author? Who's your favorite
That
author?
there are too many.
Hmm.
So one would be
Name a
very
few.
difficult. Hmm?
Name a few. Name a few.
Okay, I like Jane Austen a lot. I like
Hmm.
Amitav
Hmm.
Ghosh's work a lot. I like Tan
Hmm.
Twan Eng. He's a Malaysian author whose work I really
Hmm.
admire.
Hmm.
Then who else?
And do you think how important is reading to writing?
I think it's critical.
Hmm.
I think people who don't read and write,
Hmm.
I don't even know how they imagine the world of literature to be, how they even want to be a part of it. So
Okay.
for me, reading
And
is very, very critical, and I think you just understand how vast the world of literature is, and that keeps you, it keeps you grounded. You realize you're writing in the end for your own self. There are, you
do
know,
you do you think reading too much will impact your writing style? Maybe you will an author will subconsciously or unconsciously pick up the writing style of another author.
well, if you read
Does is
only
there a
one more author, it might happen. But if you
hmm,
read a diverse amount of literature in different genres and in different parts of the
hmm,
world, in
hmm,
translation, in your own languages,
hmm,
I think the risk is very small that you'll copy any one person. What
hmm,
happens is it
hmm,
becomes a brew in your head. Everything you've read, you are
hmm,
you're more accomplished for your reading, for the fact that you know many ways of writing, you know many ways of creating literature. So
hmm.
I think reading is essential.
Okay. And how much of your time, like if I say in a day, how much of your time is dedicated to reading and how much is to writing?
I don't write to any fixed time. When I started writing, I resigned from a very nice job, and I felt very guilty about that I've taken time to
Hmm,
write. So in the initial years, I used to write from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. I used to sit
okay.
at my computer and write. Now I don't feel that need to do so, because I know that if I start a book, I'll finish it.
No,
I'll do.
if I say that you compare the percentage of time you spend in writing and the time you spend in reading, how
I'd
would
say
that be?
half half maybe.
That's an equal amount.
But there would be months in which I'm only reading,
Oh, that's fine.
and there would be months in which I don't have any time to read. In fact, when I'm in the middle of writing a book, when
Hmm.
the real writing is going on, I write and then I have dinner and watch Netflix because I can't use my brain anymore on the written word. So if I'm
Hmm.
writing, it means I'm watching a series. It's as simple
Okay.
as that. And that's at
Okay.
night. After a hard day's work, I'll put on
Hmm.
something to watch.
Okay.
So it's very different.
Hmm.
But if I'm relaxed, then I prefer reading to writing. So, I mean,
Okay.
reading to watching.
So, as an author, what are your views on self-publishing? There are many authors who go for self-publishing. They have their own reasons. What do you view self-publishing vis-a-vis an established publisher?
Okay, so for myself, uh,
Even
I've think
otherwise,
for myself, I would want to go with an established publisher for two
hmm,
reasons. One is I'm not natural at marketing and promoting myself, which is
hmm,
needed a lot more if you're a self-published author. Because there's no
okay,
publishing house, there's no label backing you, right?
hmm,
And
hmm,
also, to me, the editing is very important. I
hmm,
feel that an impartial editor or a whole team of editors is very important to how a book turns out. So, personally, I would always go with traditional publishing. But I do
okay,
respect the fact that a lot of authors have self published and done a great job of it.
hmm, hmm,
So there's no one formula, and there's a lot of waiting in traditional publishing. So if people don't
hmm,
want to wait, if they have the confidence and they have the
hmm.
resources to self publish, why not?
Mm. I think many people who go in for self-publishing, they also say that while editing at the publisher's end, one editor or team of editors, they tend to change the content and do something which is acceptable by the readers, which is not liked by like a particular author. So that
I
is their argument. Have you ever faced such a thing?
Not really. I'm not really. If you do discuss it with your editor, and if you're able
Hmm,
to explain to them that this is the reason I've done this, I think they
hmm,
respect that. No one
okay.
has tampered with my writing against my wishes. But yes, there will be times when a editor will show you, listen, this could
Hmm,
work better. And I think
hmm,
that you should be open to because you think it's only your story. It's never like that.
hmm,
It's in the end, a book is a product. It's
hmm,
out there in the world on its own feet. It's not, uh, your voice is not there to explain things. So if an
hmm,
editor makes an
hmm.
interjection which makes sense to me, I'll take it. And if it's
Mm,
something that is against the grain of my writing, I will not take it.
mm.
And it works.
Okay,
I haven't had that experience of anyone pushing me into doing something I haven't wanted to do.
okay, okay. So in the end, I would ask you, what suggestion or advice would you give to an upcoming author?
One word: consistency.
Hmm,
So just do it every day, maybe not, but you set
hmm,
yourself a goal of say, I do it in word count. I don't any
hmm,
longer say I have to work this many hours or anything. I just set myself a very simple goal when I start of 300 words a day. And then as
hmm,
the book picks up momentum, it becomes 500, never too much.
hmm,
But if you do it every day at the end of the year, you're bound to have a first draft. And if you
hmm,
have a draft, then you have everything because you can once you have something down on paper, you can rework it 100 times to make it more beautiful. But if you haven't written, then nothing exists except the thought in your head that you're a writer. So writing is work like anything else, and you have to be consistent. If you're building a wall, you have to lay the bricks. If you're digging a tunnel, you have to dig. You have to pick up the powder. Similarly, you have to, if you're writing, you just have to write. There's no escaping that. There's no fairy there giving you inspiration or anything.
So thank you so much, Manjul, for talking to us. And I wish you all the best for with all your projects. The two books that are coming, Mira's translation, and another one.
No, this is it. Once Upon a Summer.
Okay. This
These
is
are the
already
two
come.
books this year. This is already
Yeah,
published. Mira is coming soon.
Mira is come. So any other work, any other story that you're working on,
Yes, there's a
begin working
collection.
on?
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 things I'm working on. A little early to speak
Okay.
about them. For the
Okay.
moment, I'd urge everyone to read Once Upon a Summer because it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
multi-layered
beautiful
novel.
story. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
beautiful story.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, I wish you all the best for all your upcoming stories, all your
Thank
future
you so
works.
much. It was
Thank
a
you so
pleasure
much.
talking to you. Thank you for having me.
Same here. Yeah, thank you.